a head of state making such a statement is unfortunate. Number one, he was part of Uhuru's government. In fact, he was number two. If he was a serious man, he should not, if I were him, serving under Kenyatta, and there was that corruption going on that he's now talking about, there are so many things that are going wrong, he stayed up to the last moment. Why? He was part of it. I'm sorry, this is a man who is very micro in thinking. He's micro. He's not a big thinker. Yes, housing is one of the things, but it's not, it's short term. Because for how long can you build houses? The market will get saturated at some point. They'll get saturated at some point. Build industries, for heaven's sake. Yeah, he's getting frustrated. Why is he getting frustrated? Why are you hanging on to this job? That is so bad. People are not appreciating you. People don't appreciate your efforts. Go home, for heaven's sake. God has blessed you with so many things. God has blessed you with many children. He has many children. God has blessed him with a good wife. God has blessed him with so much money, a lot of resources. Why are you hanging on to this office? I can tell you without fear that Ruto and those who are working for him are going to hell.
A very good day to you and welcome to Philip Kisia Unscripted. Yes, you've heard me right. Philip Kisia Unscripted. You've asked for him to come on a weekly basis, and he'll be here with me because we have to set the record straight about what is happening in the country. My name is Jadel Kabir. I'll be hosting him twice, every Thursday and Friday, talking about matters politics. Del 123 says we want Kisia PK on this platform. Someone else told me it's Thursday this week is almost ending and you haven't brought Philip Kisia on board. Kindly do so. The show will be coming to you every single Thursday and Friday at 7:30 p.m. taking a look at matters politics. Today we want to talk about the executive parliament versus the judiciary. Talking about matters, the affordable housing program. Can Mamba Moga boda people afford these houses? And is this the solution to unemployment? Because it's Philip Kisia Unscripted. I'm here with PK, former Nairobi Town Clerk, Leadership and Governance Expert, ex-KICC CEO, and now a very good political analyst. How are you doing?
Thank you, Jadel, for inviting me once again. It's always my pleasure to be with you and your team. So thank you.
So we want to start this program, but you almost missed coming because there's something that is happening. What is happening? My condolences. What is happening at home?
Well, we just lost an uncle. We call him Moha, Mohammed Hamid, very close to all the family members, and he had quite a number of friends. It was sad to lose him through cancer. My condolences to the family, especially the kids, Ahmed and Didi. May God protect them, and may Allah rest Moha's soul in peace.
Okay, our condolences from Nairobi Review family here at Herman Manyora's YouTube. We wish all of them the best in the near future. But we want to talk about the executive parliament versus the judiciary. The National Assembly committees have lined up a series of meetings to collect views from the public, even though there was a court order stopping public participation on Affordable Housing Bill 2023. This is the committee of the National Assembly Finance and Planning Committee and the Housing Committee. They're setting up the stage for, an imminent legal war, because this is not going to be good. If the courts have said this and you go ahead and do what you want to do, this is going to be a showdown. It's going to be a showdown between the executive and litigants. Let's start with this. Do you see the hand of the president in these parliament committees?
Let me say this, Jadel, without fear of contradiction. His Excellency, the President's hand is full in this matter. Because Ruto controls Parliament. We have no Parliament. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'll say it tomorrow. We have no Parliament. So the man is remote controlling from State House. In fact, if anything, we should sell Parliament and move those characters to State House. So it is easier for them to work. But even before we talk about this matter, Jadel, I was so saddened this week. I saw a 90-year-old grandmother, 90-year-old, that even if my mother was alive today, that mother would have been older than my mother by 8 years.
Oh.
If my mother was still alive. And may Lord rest her soul in peace. So that's a grandmother by any definition. So for me to have seen a government of thugs, cartels and cabals, demolishing a house of an old lady of age 90 at midnight, it was sad. I think we have come to the lowest. This is a government that does not care about its people. It has no respect even for the elderly and people who cannot defend themselves. That woman is a widow. She's a grandmother to all of us, including the president. How will the president feel when he's out of power and the people who are in power at that time went to Sugoi or somewhere and they demolished the mother's house where she has lived maybe for 40 years or whatever? How would Ruto feel? It was sad. It should never happen. And this is why we're saying that this is a government of thugs and thuggery. The other house that was demolished is of my neighbor, the late Jibril Ismail. Jibril Ismail has served this country. The sister Amina has served this country. The cousin Ibrahim Mohammed is serving this country. They have served this country. Ibrahim Mohammed has actually even, was detained fighting for democracy. But I'm not talking about status here. Because I'm asking, people have legal documents. Others are in court and you're disobeying court orders just because you're in power. I can tell you without fear that Ruto and those who are working for him are going to hell. I did not see that old lady, the grandmother, I did not see the old lady shed a tear, but I saw blood being shed. You're
already passing judgment.
There's no judgment here. There's no judgment. This is what happened. It's a 90-year-old woman. 90-year-old, for heaven's sake. Just because we want to build some affordable housing, and yet that grandmother has lived in that house for 90 years. Do you really have a heart? One day to be a turn, and it's coming fast and furious. But let's get to your question, Jadel.
About Parliament.
Parliament and the executive. This is, they are trying to pass some bill that they have cooked. So that, because Ruto has decided by whatever means he is going to build these houses, whatever means. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you later on that these houses that he's pushing and is hell-bent to build, they are not for the sake of the common mwananchi. Okay? They are people who are benefiting from this program.
But we will get there.
So they are they're contravening the law. They're breaking the law. When the courts have said, stop this process, for heaven's sake, let us stop it. As painful as that decision would be to all of us. Yeah? Some want to make money from the program. Some people want houses, yes. But the courts have said, no, they are people who are uncomfortable the way you're rolling out this one. Can we, because this is within our mandate, can we, first of all, pass this matter through some judicial process? But you are saying we shall, because we are parliamentarians, we make laws. What about if those laws are found to be consistent with the Constitution? Because some of the laws these people make are contravene the Constitution, and they must be called for what they are. So these are cabals, these are cartels. They have no interest of Kenyans at heart. And for a head of state even to allow, or even actually for the state, but for the speaker, Justin Moses Wetangula Masika, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, somebody I respect, for him to allow such a thing to happen, it's sad.
You've said something interesting when it comes to the arm that makes law. this is parliament, and judiciary that is supposed to defend the law. Because when you listen to National Assembly's Finance and Planning Chairman, Kuria Kimani, says he doesn't believe that they're in contempt because they are independent and they make laws and they pass the finance bill. Does this make for you? Because now they're saying we make the law.
They are only independent when it is working for them. When it's not working for them, they are not independent. When the courts rule against what their wishes, the courts are not supposed to be independent. So maybe you have a new definition of the word independent. The courts have a duty. It is a duty of the courts to interpret the constitution, the laws of this country. They will tell us whether we are within the laws, operating within the laws, or we are not operating within the laws. So we must stop. Immediately the courts make a declaration. I think it is incumbent on everybody who respects democracy, who respects the rule of law, to stop, pause, and wait for the judicial process to be completed. Why is this hurry? I can tell you, Jadel, this affordable housing, and I have said it before, it was my administration which came up with this idea of affordable housing. And this is not it was never our intention to roll it this way. And I remember my president, Mwai Kibaki, asking me, how are you going to deal with the issues of the poor? And once I answered that question, he gave it a go-ahead. Now, the way these things are being rolled out are not in the interest of the poor. Where are the poor going to get 4 million shillings and 3 million shillings? Now, 50%, Jadel, of the cost of building houses in Nairobi, or maybe slightly higher, go into land. The land is free. The money that is being used to construct the houses is our money, public funds. The buyer is being asked to produce 10%. Then Ruto tells us that he has brought some investors to build houses. What nonsense is he talking about? Shame on him. He has no shame. What investor? These are crooks. And let me tell you, power is transient. Ruto is there today. I'll remind him that he'll not be there tomorrow. He's the 5th president. There have been 4 before him. Some are dead, buried. Some of them, even their necks are broken underground. We'll all pass through here one day. So let him treat human beings with respect and courtesy.
One thing I like talking about, I even did it when I was doing General Kabiro, my monologue yesterday, is logic, common sense. If you have investors and you have free land, why do you need the housing levy? Where do you see any logic?
This is theft. It's all stealing. Because if, with this, I would like to meet these investors, the so-called investors.
Yeah.
We have given you free land. Free. Completely. We are raising money to build the houses. The purchasers are giving 10%. What nonsense are you talking about?
Yes,
where are these investors?
And the purchasers
these are just thugs. This is stealing public funds. It's theft. People are, you know why people are hell-bent with this program? People are making commissions from steel. I know there's a lot of steel being used. People are making commission from a sale of cement, because it's about steel and cement, and other small little things. So, you see, it's about them. It's not about the poor. Where will the poor get 4 million? I heard Professor Mutai talk about our Mambo can afford. Nonsense.
Because you've brought us here, I wanted to cover that later on, but because we're already here, the affordability of these houses. President Ruto said his intention is for Kenyans to pay 3,000 shillings and to own a house. That was back in January 2024, back in January, like a couple of weeks ago, 2023 actually. Now he said the houses will cost 400,000 and people will pay 4,000 shillings per month. And now when you look at the Ministry of Lands advertisement, 2-bedroom costs 3.1 billion, 3-bedroom costs 4.2 million, and they're supposed to pay 10% deposit. This is about 400,000. Tell me, how can Mama Mbogas and Boda Bodas afford these houses?
Maybe that question should be posing to the president. Where are the Mama Mbogas of this world? Because they lived hand to mouth, Jadel. These are people who are borrowing that thing he came up with. What do you call it? This a hustler fund. And he's one who's telling us that he gives them 500 bob.
Yeah.
You are giving somebody 500 bob to do business. You want them to pay you 4,000 shillings as a loan repayment.
Yeah.
This is nonsense. It's all theft.
Now, when I saw this advertisement, I thought perhaps
it's all theft.
I thought this is perhaps not Ruto's housing project because he came in late. These houses have already been built. But then I saw Nakuru's governor tweet saying, good people, here you go. How can anyone oppose this? Asante sana, Your Excellency President Ruto, for this. I also saw Millicent Omanga, who said the affordable housing program that was vehemently opposed by enemies of progress is now a reality, brick by brick. Grab this opportunity and become a proud home owner, courtesy of President William Ruto. Is this what the president promised from where you sit?
You see, he never promised. He's made so many promises. But let me say this. I think it's lack of decency, lack of courtesy, lack of decorum. When you found something ongoing, maybe almost 80-90% complete, then you come with a tip to launch a project that was completed, either substantially completed, 80-90%. So you've come to put some paint, a coat of paint, and then you talk about it. Okay, these are assets belonging to Kenya. We are happy that at least you've taken cognizance of the fact that Uhuru did something. Yeah, although you don't want to mention his name because you're full of bad manners. But if you are brought up well, like I was brought up well, my mother kept on telling me, please respect the crown or the government, have courtesy, respect other people. So it's only good manners that the president should have said, my predecessor started this project. I found it when it's 80% complete, and I completed. I completed the journey because that's about vision. Vision, a shared vision. Doesn't end by a person exiting office because it didn't belong to that person. A vision belongs to a group of people. So that driver who was there drove it to a certain stage. Now he has exited, you are taken. So that is how we carry on our vision. Yeah. I can only fault him for not giving credit where it's due.
But instead of giving credit and going to the next point, he actually blamed President Uhuru Kenyatta for budgeting corruption. Instead of saying we've built these houses because of President Ruto, we have been able to finish, he said, look, I'm not going to bribe judges as our predecessors did. And actually, this project is unstoppable.
We have no time to waste. There is no room for delay. There is no room for sabotage. This program is not stoppable. This program is unstoppable.
Now, Kisia, tell me this. Is the president above the law when you listen to him saying it is unstoppable? I think it's a CS there saying, look, tutapita na wao wakituchezea.
You see, we've come to a point where, we're used to threats. We wake up, there's this threat, either coming from the president or coming from those characters who work for him. But we want to tell them that we are not scared. I also listened to one of his clips, and he said he only fears God. Okay? He does not fear any human being. Okay? I want to remind him that Kenyans don't fear him. They may respect him to the extent that he will respect Kenyans. Okay? If you treat us well, we'll treat you well. If you disrespect Kenyans, we shall disrespect you. President William Ruto is not above law. That must be made very clear to him. We shall remind him today. We shall remind him tomorrow. And if he continues making these mistakes, most of us will push for him to be impeached. He must be impeached. He must go home earlier than sooner.
How do you interpret his unstoppable
Because when you talk about disobeying court orders, you're calling for anarchy. When you say you're going to disrespect a court order, what do you expect other people to do? To respect the courts? Do you respect expect people to even listen to the police. He's pushing for anarchy. He's not above the law, for heaven's sake. And we're going to remind him, he's not above the law. If he continues the way he's continuing, Kenyans are ready. And if this parliament is not ready to impeach him, Kenyans will find a way of getting rid of him. He's not above the law. In any event, Jadel,
Yeah.
Honorable William Samoei Ruto is an employee of the Republic of Kenya. He's just a mere employee. He is first among equals. He's behaving as if he is the employer. He's not the employer. He's an employee. And if he's tired with this job, for heaven's sake, nobody's forcing him. Aende.
But
Let him go home.
Doesn't it make
sense? Why is he forcing himself on Kenyans?
I'm asking.
If he thinks that Kenyans are not appreciating what he's doing, he thinks Kenyans are not appreciating what he's doing. Yeah, he's getting frustrated. Why is he getting frustrated? Why are you hanging on to this job? That is so bad. People are not appreciating you. People don't appreciate your efforts. Go home, for heaven's sake. God has blessed you with so many things. God has blessed you with many children. You know he has many children. God has blessed him with a good wife. God has blessed him with so much money, a lot of resources. Why are you hanging on to this office? Why do you want to kill yourself? Under the disguise, under the pretense that you want to serve people.
Let me play
you. You can go home today. My uncle died yesterday. We are burying him today, Uncle Moha. Okay? We'll all die. Who does he think he's God?
Let me play you this clip where he says, if you don't think this government is doing anything, nyinyi ndio muende.
Kenya. Nyinyi ni Wakenya wa aina gani? Na kama nyinyi munaona hakuna kitu kizuri hata kimoja katika taifa letu la Kenya, nyinyi bado mnafanya nini Kenya? Si mtafute basi mahali nyingine ya kwenda.
You listen to that, Kisia, what comes to mind?
I think the president has lost it, man. The guy has completely lost it. And if he thinks, if he's frustrated, he doesn't have to get worked up. He must go. Let him go back to Sugoi. Why should 50 million people go? Where we are Kenyans.
He's saying
no, he's the only one who's frustrated. The 50 million Kenyans have no problem. If he goes home, we'll get somebody else. Maybe even Philip Kisia can do a better job. Why not?
Someone actually told me you can do a better job, but we have to see that when you get there. The seat is quite hot. But when he says he's unstoppable, isn't it believable to say that he's unstoppable? Because he's still laying foundations for these affordable houses. He was in Nanyuki, Unamona, Kijenga. Doesn't this mean he's unstoppable?
This guy, I'm sorry to refer him to as a guy, let me refer to him as a president, even if he's annoying us and he's annoying me. I'll still call him His Excellency the President. Until otherwise. You know, I saw him in Nanyuki and I've seen the clips. People are not bothered. And you know, when it gets to a level when, as a president, you're not inspiring anybody, people are not listening to you. There's a small handful of people in the market. And you know, he stopped in the market. He didn't stop in a market. You cannot fail to meet people in a market. You know, market is a market. So it's a small little crowd. And they're not even bothered. They're not bothered at all. When you get to that level where people don't care anymore, you must retract and ask yourself, where am I going wrong? What am I doing? I was so popular. He was popular, fairly popular. But if you look at popularity, it has really dropped. And if you're serving people and people are not happy, because the first thing you must do, because you're serving people, and if the customer is unhappy with you, people who have studied marketing will tell you, if the customer is unhappy with you, you must sit down and ask the customer, where am I going wrong? How can I correct myself? How can I serve you better? You can't push like a caterpillar. You are dealing with human beings. No. So he's stoppable. And very soon he will know that Kenyans can stop him. Now, and Kenyans stop Arap Moi, his godfather. Does he think he's unstoppable? Does he think? Who told him he's unstoppable? Who told him? Who told him? That is in his head, in his mind. It's only in his mind. He's dreaming. He's a big dreamer. People are allowed to dream. But if he does not watch his steps, atajua hajui.
Two final questions I have here, one on JSC and the other on unemployment. The president, everywhere he goes when he's talking about affordable housing, seems this is the solution to unemployment. He asks people, mwenyana kazi ainue mkono, people lift their hands. This is the solution to to unemployment. Is this a solution to unemployment? Is this a solution to housing? Or is it,
this is,
moving forward?
I'm sorry, this is a man who is very micro in thinking. He's micro. He's not a big thinker. Yes, housing is one of the things, but it's not, it's short term. Because for how long can you build houses? The market will get saturated at some point. They'll get saturated at some point. Build industries, for heaven's sake. Build our ICT hubs. Do things that will make Kenya competitive. Develop tourism. Tourism, these are low-hanging fruits. Invest in tourism. We have foreign exchange coming in within less than 18 months. And you have all the money that you're looking for. You have all the employment that you're looking for. Do you know how many people tourism can employ directly and indirectly just within 18 months? Without hassle, without punishing people with heavy taxation. So he's so micro in his thinking. He needs to surround himself with people who can think outside the box. His thinking is backward. Absolutely backward. We didn't talk about Uhuru's bribe allegation and the JSC asking the president to provide evidence. Kia Mtata also asked the same as we wind up. That is, Jadel, a head of state making such a statement is unfortunate. Number one, he was part of Uhuru's government. In fact, he was number two. If he was a serious man, he should not, if I were him, serving under Kenyatta, and there was that corruption going on that he's now talking about, there are so many things that are going wrong, he stayed up to the last moment. Why? He was part of it. If that government was corrupt, he too is extremely corrupt. He was part of it. He can't run away from it. Number two, if indeed he has evidence that the judges are corrupt, if he has any evidence, let due process take place. Let him not go and announce in markets and threatening people and how he'll jail judges. Who is he? He has evidence. Take it to the Judicial Service Commission. And the Judicial Service Commission has a lot of people who have people of high integrity. We've seen what happened to judges who have been caught on the wrong side of the law. Action has been taken. He has ESCC, he has intelligence, he has DCI. Why make pronouncements, on the road, in markets and roadsides?
So is this
talking about corruption? He was part of Uhuru's government. Why didn't he resign? He stayed up to the last minute earning public funds, earning money from salary from public funds. He stayed up to the last moment. He's not a man who's sincere.
So is this your answer
He's completely unsincere. He never resigned. In fact, in where people are civilized, Jadel, Ruto would have been forced to go home, to resign, and go to Sugoi.
Right now?
He would be in Sugoi. In civilized democracies, you say that I was part of the government, number two in command, they were corrupt, they were bribing judges, they were even taking public funds to bribe judges, and you stayed up to the last minute. Shame on you.
I was telling you about Senior Counsel Herman Manyora, who says the JSC doesn't even listen to these cases. What is your solution to that? Because if the JSC is not going to listen, what can the president do?
People are, with every respect, everybody is allowed to have their own opinion. But from where I stand and from where I sit, I think there have been a lot of reforms even within the judiciary. I'm not saying they are not to blame for some of the ills that afflicting the society or some of the weaknesses within the judicial system, okay? But from where we came from the time the new constitution came into play and we had Emeritus Chief Justice Mutunga, he did a superb job to lay a solid foundation. Then we had Maraga. Now we have Justice Kome. I think let us give them time. In fact, if there's any institution which has reformed or tried to reform from the time we actually got the new constitution in 2010, the judiciary. In fact, if there's an institution which has continued failing after Kibaki, it's the executive. That's where all the corruption is. They have admitted. Even Ruto himself said NSSF is losing 40%. He has not told us, not NSSF, but NHIF. Yes. He has not told us what he has done. He's saying 40% being lost. He was part of the other government. It was corrupt, so he's corrupt also. For heaven's sake, let's be serious.
I would want finally, because you're saying this affordable house thing actually came from your administration where you're running Nairobi. How would you advise Ruto to go about it? Because it seems so confused right now. How would you advise Ruto to go about it?
Let's honesty and transparency. Honesty and transparency. And before I talk about, you saw the Defense Secretary of United States of America. The man is suffering from prostate cancer. He went in for a procedure. Okay? He failed to inform the public that he has a situation that has forced him to get into surgery. Just failing to disclose that was a big issue in America. A very big issue. Now they have sat down, they're sitting down to review the processes, to review the protocol. What happens when somebody at that level, has been diagnosed with something like that? Here, because of lack of transparency, you have characters who are suffering from diseases that have been inflicted by themselves. But they don't disclose to the public. They are holding public office, so most likely we are spending public funds to treat them. But anyway,
we'll talk about that.
You said if I was the one advising Ruto, because he cannot run away from this fact, let him challenge me. My team came up with this affordable housing program, and it was going to be rolled out, in a two-prong strategy. Number one, the social component. And that's what Emeritus Kibaki asked me, how are you going to deal with the poor people? And I told His Excellency, we'll deal with the poor people by giving them houses at completely subsidized prices, completely subsidized, almost paying nothing. Not even the 3,000, 4,000 it's talking about, maybe even 2,000. Because they continue paying rent. What they were paying as rent, they continue paying. But they end up owning the houses. But because there is a cost of putting up that house, the subsidized, that cost is spread over the other units. Okay? So there's that social component. You provided houses, particularly for those Kenyans who are living there, because already they are, some for 70 years or so, or more. Okay? Then now you start rolling out affordable, concurrently roll out affordable housing. Now, why were we calling it affordable housing? If more than 50% of the cost has been taken over, you've been given for free. Land is free. Okay? Almost 60% is free. Then you get a potential buyer, middle class, a lower middle class, to put in 10 or 15 or whatever percentage. So you find that the cost of now building the actual house, okay, using modern technology, free of corruption, completely free of corruption, where people are not making money on cement, where people are not making money on steel, those houses now become affordable. Okay? Because if you remove that almost 60% component of land, it will not be affordable.
Yeah.
So they're affordable because the heavier cost has been taken away by the public. Right. Not by anybody else, but by the public. Because these are public assets. These are not assets that belong to families.
All right, I think it's a good place to wrap up with PK. This is Philip Kisia, Unscripted, telling us about affordable housing. It can actually be practical, as you've heard him say, and it is practical as he has suggested it to be. Thank you for tuning in to this first conversation with Philip Kisia on Philip Kisia Unscripted. If you'd like to advertise and talk to us, write to us on the email down below, and we could be able to talk about your business, your products, wherever you want Kenyans to know about. Philip, thanks for coming through. Final word on this Thursday.
As usual, let us not despair. We have one thing left for Kenyans, hope.
Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye for now.